Last September, I held an art retreat for people who are used to holding it all together. Doctors, lawyers, pharma execs, entrepreneurs. We started out with meditation and breath work. We then did some movement with Pilates. We did journaling and goal setting, a number of art-making activities, of course, and we finished off with a meditative labyrinth walk. And there was a woman in the audience, her name was Jen, and who was very closed off, guarded, and it truly felt like nothing I was doing was getting through to her. Until at the very end, right after that walk, Jen came up to me and she said, "You know, I'm actually a cop out in Roxbury, and I have not felt this relaxed in dozens of years." And that moment truly stayed with me because I recognized that creativity isn't about creating things, making things. It's about changing brain states. See, Jen wasn't just tired. She was carrying a legacy of strain. Her nervous system bogged down with years of hypervigilance. And through breath work, through movement, through art making, she was able to take a pause and make a shift, even just for a little bit. And the other reason that this stayed with me is because it actually brought me back to when I first experienced that shift. I was 13 years old, a fresh immigrant from Moldova, and it was a year when Rocky IV came out. And all the kids in my New Jersey high school were vicious. They repeated all kinds of horrible names they heard on TV. They followed us to our Russian-speaking ghetto and threw stones at us. And those were not fun transitional years to a new culture. Until my mother, knowing my affinity for art, found an art teacher. And twice a week, we would get in the car, we would roll up our windows super tight, getting through unfamiliar neighborhoods of Newark, arriving at a dilapidated factory building perched on top of a highway, entering through half-closed gates. But when I entered that space, it was like a sanctuary, with its big open windows and light streaming through and objects from all over the world and that smell of oil paint. And for hours, I could relax into a portrait or a still life or a landscape and learn about the musicality of line and the harmony of colors. And this whole time I was thinking I was learning how to draw and paint, but I was actually learning how to self-regulate. And I didn't have words for it back then, but it is something that we can now actually measure. And I have been doing just that with some neuroscientists in my studio. See, every day we are running through life in high beta. We are anxious, we are scanning for danger, we're hypervigilant. Many of us live like this day to day. Jen certainly lives in that state. But when you allow yourself to just pause and breathe, you enter into the state of alpha. And that is when your body starts to relax and be more open. And if you force yourself through the discomfort a little further, you can enter into the state of theta. And that is when integration happens. That is when intuition kicks in. When things are starting to fire up. And if you force yourself to stay just a tad longer, if you're lucky enough, you get into the bursts of gamma. And that is that state of complete flow, when we can't feel time go by, when we don't know what's happening around us. We're just completely in that moment. And this isn't something that I have just been researching in my little studio, which I hope you get to see in a little bit. It's actually something that's been researched at scale now with a movement called social prescribing. And my favorite example comes from an experiment in Greece where they had over 1,000 people go through this. They were prescribed art making for 12 weeks as part of their psychiatric care. And just after 12 weeks, doctors noticed that there is 30% less reported anxiety and depression. And they were so impressed, as well as the lawmakers in Greece, that is actually now put into law that art making is part of mental health care. See, doctors are now starting to find what many of us knew all along, how incredible art making is in terms of balancing us. I lost the name of the person. Oh, Maya Angelou. Sorry about that. Maya Angelou had this amazing quote where she said, "We are all born creative. It's just that over time we are conditioned out of it." But there is a way back. 4 years ago, I stood on another TEDx stage and I introduced a method that I've been working through in getting people into that creative flow. And I dubbed it with an acronym, SPARK. S is for staying present in this particular space, in your particular state of mind. P is for paying attention, and not just paying attention to what is on your piece of paper or your canvas, but paying attention to your mental state, your emotional state, just truly being there. A is incredibly important, and that is allowing ourselves to play. Truly feeling like we are 4 years old and our fingers are twitching in anticipation of new techniques we're gonna learn. R is probably the most important, and that is releasing the end result and truly allowing those happy accidents to occur. And finally, letter K is about being kind to ourselves for stepping out of our comfort zones and trying something new. And with that studio that I had access to at 13, with Jen, with all these people that I see come through, from kids to teens to adults, I've come to recognize that legacy isn't just about the businesses that we build, the financial security that we pass to our families. It's not only about achievements and awards, but it's also about recognizing what first saved us and offering it to others. It's about creating spaces where people can finally come back to themselves. Thank you.